Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my studio. If you're new here, this is where we have fun every day and try to cheer up the world a little bit. I have often gone on and on about where to get your inspiration from, because this is something obviously that bothers me every single day, because you wake up in the morning and you think, oh my gosh, I've got to paint a picture today. What am I going to paint? And yeah, so anyway, today eventually I came up with a plan. I have decided not to use online resources for inspiration anymore, ever. I'm going to draw a line underneath that, because I cannot tolerate all of this artificially intelligence created, if you want to call it created, because it's not creation. What they're doing is absolutely a travesty, and there are lots of very much stronger words than that. So I'm not going to go on and on about it, because I already have done that in the past. But what I decided to do was I came to my studio and I went to make a cup of coffee, and I said, I'm going to pick up the first book that comes to my hands. I'm going to find something in that book, a real, physical, actual paper, printed by hand, by a human being, full of stuff, made by people, not computers. The only thing that a computer had to do with this was perhaps controlling the printing press where it was actually physically made. I'm going to pick up the first book that comes to hand, and I'm going to open it up and have a look at it and find some things to inspire me, and I'm going to use that for my inspiration. And I'm sorry if you think I sound terribly strong and dogmatic and dramatic and all the rest of it about this, but I do actually feel really appallingly passionate about what's going on, and I'm afraid that we're going to lose all the art that we ever owned. And never mind, anyway, whatever. So I picked up this book. It's called Decorative Effects for the Home. I haven't had it very long. I think I got it from a thrift shop here in France, if I remember rightly, but I'm not quite sure. But anyway, it was published, funnily enough, it was published in Tunbridge Wells in England, in Kent, where I was living at the time. It was published in 1999. Actually, I wasn't living there at the time, but I grew up very close to Tunbridge Wells, and I know this press, Search Press, on the North Farm Road, Tunbridge Wells, really close to where I used to live. So that's quite funny, really. So I like that kind of thing, because that makes me think, oh, you know what, that book was speaking to me, it was calling to me. Because, I mean, I even know the names of some of the people who did this, Lindsay Durrant, Sandy Barnes, and so on. These are people, they might be a few years older than me if they're still around, but anyway. So there's a lot, and I opened it up and I thought, oh, yes, I have actually done some of these things. I've done some of this decorative painting over the years. I wonder if there's something in here that would inspire me for a painting today. So I started flicking through, and I came to this picture and I thought, oh, that's interesting, that's nice. That's a little bit like the pots that we did the other day, isn't it? I wish I'd seen that when I did those pots, because I probably would have done them differently. So I thought, oh, well, yeah, that's interesting. And I look at the arrangement. It's such a good arrangement of the things on the page there, with the tall thing in the back and the statue, and then the pots getting smaller as it goes down, and everything. And you start to think straight away, oh, yes, I could make these a little bit bigger and a bit more variety in the colours of the greens and so on and so forth. So looking at a real photograph taken by a real person using a real camera, because this was pre-digital, you can see so many possibilities for your creative spirit to come out and thrive. And you don't have to look at it and say, oh, I wonder if that's real, because you know it is. And so then I carried on, and I realized every other page there's something similar. So this is even more like what I painted the other day, isn't it? Because we had 2 rows of pots and the plants on them, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if I'd have seen that, I would have included a watering can or some shears or a basket. And so I'm going to revisit this concept in the not too distant future. I'm going to come back and I'm going to use this as inspiration for another painting, but not today. Anyway, so I went on and I drank my coffee and I ate my rice cake, my second breakfast, Germans will know all about that. And I carried on and I came across this. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I didn't. I went to the back, because I often do, and I came across this. And I thought, oh, that's cute. I like that. I'm going to try that out. I think we can do something with something like that in our painting. So I put that to one. I put a bookmark on it, found myself a piece of paper, and I'll show you my first practice piece of that. So I did that. Okay, I thought that's a good start. We can do the leaves in lots of different greens, and we can use pen to bring the shapes out, because it's very finicky to paint every single gosh darn leaf, but we can give a kind of, you know, an impression of leaves by using the pen. So I thought that's a good start. We'll start with that. Now what else can we have? And so then I went through a bit more, and I found this one. This is the next one I found. And I thought, oh yes, they've painted these terracotta pots and this metal, or maybe it's even plastic, watering can, and, you know, just a simple spiral, one of my favourite symbols, can make all the difference. And I thought, yes, yesterday we were potting up loads of plants outside. We decided to take the day off because the day didn't get off to a good start. So Tamsin and I spent the whole day in the garden yesterday because it was a nice day. But we weren't sitting there drinking gin and tonics. We were repotting plants and digging holes to plant roses in and stuff like that. So that was nice. But anyway, what did I say? Oh yes, and I was thinking, yeah, some of these pots could do with being painted. So here are some ideas. So then I went on a bit further and I came across this. And I thought, well, that's a really nice shape for that pot. So why don't we do something similar to that, but put it in a more interesting pot like that, rather than just an old bucket that one's in. So now I've got some ideas, and what I've come up with, I'm going to paint in a minute. This is not it, but so I'm going to put that to one side, and we're going to use our Kuretake paints today. And because we're going to paint something like this, we're going to use a lot of greens, and this set is very strong. Just going to sit down. On greens, has lots of greens, and what I'm going to do before I do anything else, before I put brush to paper, so to speak, is I'm going to try out these greens. I'm going to just swatch them onto this piece of paper here, which I put here ready, and then choose the ones that I'm going to use mostly for this painting. I'll just clean this one up a little bit. This is greenish yellow, which is actually more like yellowish green. So that might be quite useful. So I'm just reminding myself of what these colours are like before I get started, because, as I say, they've all got a bit dirty. Not exactly dirty, but polluted with other colours. So I'm just cleaning that up as I go along, you know, multitasking. And that is a pretty synthetic looking green. I don't think that's necessarily the colour that you really want for your leaves, so we might not use that one. This one, what's this? Oh, that's lime green. This is sap green, which is intended for leaves, obviously. This is sap green light, which is just a bit brighter. These are all fairly light, aren't they? And then we've got hooker's green, which should be darker. Hooker's green is one of those colours that obviously all the manufacturers of paint make hooker's green, but sometimes they can be completely different. This is olive green, which is a very subtle, sort of slightly browned off green. Browned off, that reminds me, all you Londoners out there who watch this will know that expression. My dad always used to say, or my mum actually, I'm really browned off. And it meant she was fed up. And I don't know where that expression came from, browned off. I'm browned off. I don't know. It must have been a gypsy thing or something like that, I suppose. So that's, what is that? What is that? Malachite. So that's kind of turquoise. And now we've got sap green deep. So we had sap green, this one, sap green light, and then we've got sap green deep. So it's possible that those three colours plus a yellow might be, and then we want obviously forest gump green for the darks. So we put that there. And then we've got Viridian, which is very bluish. And you might want to add occasional leaves in these more blue or more yellow. You could do that. And then we've got turquoise. That's a good shadow one for this plant too. Okay, so that's turquoise deep, that is. And then we can quickly have a look at our yellows, because we'll have to put some yellow in there, won't we? So that's lemon yellow. This is aureolin. It says it's aureolin. This is an aureolin that is not particularly, sorry, transparent. And then we've got cadmium yellow. They're very heavy yellows, really. Possibly not the strongest feature of these paints, the yellows. But you can't have everything your own way, can you? It's not too bad if you don't use quite so much pigment. That's okay. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to just slightly rearrange these for the second. I'm going to take my sap green deep and I'm going to put it next to my sap green and sap green light. Move the hookers out of the way and put the sap green deep there. And the other colour that I think I'm probably going to want is Forest Gump. There we are. So we've got now, I'm going to have to mark this to show me what's what. So I've got that one I want, and that one, and that one. And then olive, and I don't want that, but I do want that. And so that is that, and that's that. Right, and then we'll probably want this, and possibly that. And probably keep away from those. I'm going to use these greens, and that blue, and that yellow. Right, so, oh, that's just for the tree. So, that's just for the tree. So I'm going to put that on my book stand in front of me so I can see it. And then I'm going to use this bird here, or this one, which I have painted previously. We didn't do a tutorial for those, but these are just birds that I've painted. So I'm probably going to use that one, or both. And I've done this, this is my paper here. We've got a large block of Meaden hot press, 12 by 9. I'm using hot press today because I felt like it. And I've sketched here a pot, a bird, the tree that we've been focusing on for the leaves at the minute, and that other pot with the little handles in the foreground there. And that's what I'm going to do. We've got a bee, got a bird, we've got a dragonfly there, and a couple more leaves up here perhaps. So that's what we're going to paint today. And I'm going to be using a size, I think this is a 7 round synthetic brush. Doesn't matter what make it is. This happens to be Craft Mode, but that's irrelevant because they're sold out now. And I think I'll start with that. I'm not sure, I might want a slightly bigger one. And if I do, I've got this one here, which I think is about a 10, something like that. That would probably do. So yes, now you can do this either one of two ways. For the leaves, as I said, I've done the sketch, and I will have this available for you on the website if you want to download it. So that's a possibility. If you don't feel up to doing the drawing yourself, you can download the sketch, and I will sketch it once it's done so that you actually get a sketch of what I end up doing, just in case I don't do it quite the same as what I have drawn. And I've just realised I've got a line in the wrong place there, just looking at it now after having been away from it for a minute or two. So I'll just rub that line out and put it in a little bit further over, like that. Yeah, I think I'll start with the slightly bigger brush in the middle. And you have to sort of decide when you're going to do something like this, are you going to have, are you going to do it completely flat so there's no light alteration from one side of the painting to the other, or are you going to have a little bit of illumination coming in? And I think it's just a bit more interesting if you do. So I'm going to pretend that the light's coming in from the right hand side, and so we'll start off probably just dropping in some leaves on this side in yellow, and we will paint over this. Obviously this is just sort of indicating the light source, and I'm not too bothered about how the shapes of the leaves go down, because I'm painting wet in wet, and so we just want them to blend, and then we'll kind of put the shapes in afterwards, and that way we don't have to worry so much. So I'm going down my row here of greens, and I'm just kind of picking them up one after the other, more or less at random really, but changing the colour frequently so that we have a nice blend, mixture, variety, and so on. I can turn that round a bit so I can get some points coming out, because the only leaves that you really want to have showing as leaves are the ones right on the outside edge really. And in the middle we'll probably have darker ones. Sometimes you can get a better effect for your leaves if you just do this kind of, if you've got the right brush, do this kind of stamping thing, and you can get the kind of leaf. I mean, they're all going to be roughly the same size, but kind of works. And we just have fun. I wouldn't exactly say we're playing, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but we can have fun and just make it up. I mean, I think the original tree that I used as inspiration, the leaves were bigger relative to the whole trunk and everything, but it doesn't matter. Quite like that, and we'll leave some of the white like that so that it's kind of airy. And then I'm going to wash my brush and pick up some brown. I'll just turn this round so you can see the browns. We've got yellow ochre, and I think we'll use yellow ochre. For the trunk, which is going to go down behind the pot there. And then we'll pick up a darker brown to put the shadow, and because the light's coming from this side, the shadow will go on the left, away from the light, obviously. So we just do that and let that kind of blend. And then we could do this pot here, which I just wanted to see what colour, because I know it was a nice colour, what they did in this book, but I can't remember what it was. So we'll have a look. Hang on a second. It was It was green, right, so, and it was turquoise. So we can do that because we said we were going to use the turquoise, didn't we? So we could do that turquoise. So we'll just paint in. Because I'm using hot press paper, you get a completely different sort of effect from what you get when you use cold press paper. And sometimes I just like to use it because it's different. Okay, so we're not really trying too hard to do anything terribly detailed here, and we just put in the handles quite nice and wet and let the colour do what it wants to do, which if watercolour is doing its usual thing, it means run and dry in back runs and be irritating, but we don't mind, do we? So I'll put some shadow on this side and underneath the rim a little bit like that. And then I hadn't forgotten about the back of the rim there. In the painting, that the wall painting that I'm using as my inspiration, they didn't paint the back of the rim. They made it completely flat, but that's up to them. So we'll put a bit more shadow under there and the back, and we'll leave that like that. Okay, and then probably what we want to do now is to go to the bird. I might swap down to a smaller brush for that. And you can paint the bird whatever colour you want. I think I'm probably going to stick with the blue idea a little bit, the blue and the green ideas. So I'm just going to turn that round, and I probably want to test the colour. The one I have here that I did before, I think that was mostly ultramarine and then a bit of phthalo blue or Prussian blue or something like that on top. And I did his breast in a kind of olive green kind of thing. So ultramarine is this, and the olivey green that I used I don't think came from this set, so it could be that, but then that's going to be too similar to the tree, so I think probably what we want to do is go for more of a mustardy colour, perhaps with a touch of green, maybe something along those lines, perhaps. Or we could go for red, but I think that'd probably be a bit too much. And we could go for the the blue grey, which is this colour, for the back of the bird. Could do that. Can't make up my mind. I'm not sure. Or we could have an orange as a contrast, something like this. Maybe we'll do that. Perhaps we'll put a little red breast. Something along those lines. Just a sort of brownish red. And then I don't know what colour to do him. Maybe turquoise. Okay, that will do. Just give him a nice little sticky up tail. And I know this is going to run, and that's okay. Probably it will anyway, because I doubt whether the red's dry yet, but we'll just let those two mingle a little bit there. And we'll let that dry, and later we'll put in his beak and everything. And now we'll go down to the pot that he's standing on. And we can either do that in a realistic colour, the terracotta type of colour, or we can pretend that we've painted it. So I'm going back to my examples in here. I don't think I want to do it terracotta because I think that might be a bit strong. So I think here we've got this one here in the middle. This is kind of terracotta, but it's been rubbed over with a light wash of bluey green, which gives it a kind of verdigris effect. So something like that would be probably quite nice. I don't know if it's easy to achieve that. Probably not, but what we could do is go for it could end up as just a mucky mess, couldn't it? But we could go for this turquoisey colour, and maybe if we mix a little bit of some browns in. Maybe something like that. It's a nice soft green as a sort of undercoat. It's not going to argue too much with the rest of the painting. And we want to make it a little bit darker for the inside, don't we? And under here from some shadow. A little bit here. Okay. And then probably we should do something for the whatever it is that everything is standing on. So we probably want a nice kind of neutral browny green colour, a bit more brown than that. So just add a little bit more. So this is kind of standing on some paving stones. You could put some lines in to indicate that they were slabs if you wanted to later. Okay, and in a minute we're going to have to probably, yeah, maybe it would be a good idea to wait for it to dry at this point so that I can carry on. I need to do the background. So I think probably for the background we'll just do a light wash after we've done the other bits and pieces. So I'm going to dry it now. Okay, so where's my brush gone? This one? This one. That's it. Let's put in the dragonfly, and he's going to be a turquoise colour but very washed down. You could use one of the metallics or something, you know, iridescent or something like that for the dragonfly if you wanted to. I'm not going to do anything terribly detailed regarding said dragonfly, but we'll just give him a dark body, a dark head, and we'll let let the whole thing kind of just flow. So just leave that like that. And we'll do a bee down here. Yum, yum, yum. Can never remember whether they start... Well, it doesn't really matter because they're all different. We found the bee yesterday. Now, what was it Tamzin said it was called? I can't remember, but apparently, yeah, it'll come to me later. Apparently, they are very much restricted to America, and I'm in France for my sins. So that's a bit of a mystery, that is. Okay, so I'm going to put the beak of the bird in. And anyway, the reason for mentioning that was because it's completely different from the bees we normally see around here. I'm just putting in some shaping for the pot. Very, very loose. Don't worry about too much detail, very loose. And a bit for the flower pot too. Yes, I'm just waiting for the bee to dry. I think I can probably do the eye of the bird. And can probably do his legs as well. I want to be a bit darker than that, otherwise they won't show. Just use the tip of the brush. Okay. We will make a slightly darker back for the bird. And put some more feathers in his tail. And perhaps we'll give him a tiny bit more colour on his chest, perhaps a bit more rusty. I want him to be nice and loose, really. And then the bee, like that. Keep it really simple, and then we just drag some of the grey up into the wings. I don't want to do anything more complicated than that, and I will do his legs and his antennae with a pen. Okay, I'm not going to fuss with that. I suppose he might as well have his. Okay. And let me see, what shall we do now? Put a little bit of shadow down here under the pots. While I'm doing this, I'm kind of planning or deciding where this painting is going to end up and whether or not I'm going to do any line work. And to be quite honest, I'm thinking I'm not. I'm thinking I should probably do what I said and put some kind of abstract design of spiral on these pots, just because I said I would. Maybe a little bit of indication there. And then up here, I sort of thought we ought to have a little bit of leaf. Let me turn that round. But I think I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to turn it and come down like this rather than going up. And we'll have some nice leaves. Can rub out the pencil afterwards. Nothing to worry about there. And then when it's completely dry, yeah, we can rub out the pencil when it's completely dry. And then perhaps it'll be the time to do the background. We're going to do a background. We don't have to do a background. We can leave it like that. But I think probably what I have to do at the moment now is dry it. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've rubbed off all of my pencil lines now, so it's nice and clean. And I'm thinking to myself, what do I want to do now? Do I want to do anything else to this? I don't think it's quite finished. So I was thinking maybe it needs a background. But then I thought maybe actually the one thing that it does need is probably something here. And so I've just taken some tracing paper and I've tried out a couple more dragonflies, and that's what I'm going to do. I might put 2 more dragonflies here and maybe even another one down here in the distance or something like that. And I think using tracing paper to try something out is quite a good idea. So I think I want it a little bit smaller than the one that I actually sketched, so I'll just do that. And I like to draw my dragonflies really light and sketchy and quite unnecessary to have any kind of accuracy. So we'll do that, and then I'll just paint them in. Maybe I'll do one of them in pink, because we're not going to use much colour. It doesn't matter really what colour they are. So I'll just do it in pink and do the body in green. I like to do my dragonflies' bodies with a bit of a curve because that seems to me to make sense. I think they often are slightly curved. And this one I'm going to do in green. I didn't realise how many different kinds of bees there are. I just tried to look up the name of the one that we think we saw in the garden. There are like literally thousands of different bees out there. And I have no idea what it was, but anyway, we've never seen one like that before. So I'm going to put one more dragonfly here. And the other day we saw a black bee. We know that that was a black bee because it was black. They come from Spain, and I don't know what they're doing up here either. So let's do this one in a pink and green and a little green head. And I think that's probably going to be enough. When that's dry, that'll probably look okay. It looks quite busy now because they're still wet, but I think that'll be okay. And I hope you enjoyed that. That was fun, wasn't it? I'll do the sketch. I'll do the sketch to fit onto A4 or 8.5 by 11 paper, so it'll be a bit smaller, but you can always make it bigger if you want to do a bigger one like this. The reason for that is that my paper is a bit too small, so I'll just do it a tiny bit smaller. Yeah, so there we are. I'm going to let you go now. I'm going to go and have lunch, and I will see you all again very soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications, and visit us on Patreon or YouTube membership here if you feel that way inclined. Plus, of course, there's our website at dianeantone.com where you can download the sketches from and purchase our colouring books and reverse colouring books as well. So, and sign up for the newsletter. Please do that. I'd be very grateful. And if nothing else, leave a comment here below the video. And I'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.